¡Bienvenidos a México!
Microsoft's Forza series is normally an annual event. Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon normally take turns releasing every year, so there's never a gap. Things have changed with the transition to Xbox Series consoles. The next Forza Motorsport is spending extra time in the garage building a new engine, but Forza Horizon hasn't blinked, and the 5th entry is at the starting grid day and date on Game Pass. It's the biggest Xbox exclusive to enjoy this status thus far, and it shows. Over 4.5 million players are already playing it, which should be a boon for any online-driven game. Let's find out if Forza Horizon 5 is a Game Pass or a game fail.
Well, that was day one of our Mexican Fiesta party, people, and we are just getting started.
Forza Horizon 5 is an open-world, always-online racing game. It's absolutely gigantic. The world itself isn't that big. You can drive from one end to another in around 15 minutes with a decent car, but there's so much packed into its square mileage.
The Horizon Festival has landed, and oh my, do we have big plans!
There are almost too many race events, arcade events, seasonal events, skill challenge locations, bonus items, and more littering the map. On one hand, it makes it hard for any single element to really stand out. On the other, there's something for just about any player or mood. If you get bored of one, there are dozens more to take its place.
Recalculating route.
The narrative used to push you to play all these events is mixed. The story itself is very simple. The Horizon team has taken over Mexico and turned it into a car lover's paradise, complete with a music festival. The vapid characters you interact with are forgettable at best and annoying at worst.
Hey, my friend, when you dropped from that plane, what were you thinking?
I was doing all I could to not think about it.
But each offers worthwhile special events. As you complete races, unlock accolades, and do virtually anything else, you'll earn points you can use to unlock special showcase events in a variety of disciplines, like street racing or stunts. Some of these events are just larger versions of typical races, but others are more unique. Driving a parade float into a canyon or exploring an active volcano never gets old, and these surprises are a major reason to keep playing.
Best idea ever!
Constant progression will also keep your hands glued to the steering wheel. Everything you do ties into its gaggle of progression systems. The flashiest is the wheel spin, a literal casino-style slot machine that rewards you with cars, credits, and cosmetics. Clearing events gives you more spins, while using each car will provide you with vehicle-specific skill points that tie into a mini skill tree. If your character levels up, you are rewarded with even more spins. Eventually, you're overloaded with spins, and the wheel turns into an easy way to build your livery of cars. You hardly ever have to buy any with the credits you earn, which allows you to spend them on something else. The driving mechanics were accessible when the first Forza Horizon launched, and they haven't changed much for the 5th entry. This is an arcade-style racing franchise with simple controls. While you can tweak the camber and other minutiae for each car, you mostly just need to use the gas and brake to make meaningful progress. However, this simplicity does not sacrifice a meaningful difference in how each car and class feels to drive. This is further compounded by the multitude of unlocks available for each one. If you prefer to keep your hands clean, there's even an auto upgrade option and community-made tuning setups to utilize. You have to hunt through menus to find them, but they're there. If there's one major criticism, it's in the difficulty balancing. There's a drive-atar system where AI cars based on your friends list populate the world and events. It's easy to manipulate these bot cars into being guardrails around challenging turns or bump them out of the way. The system has remained basically the same for a decade, and while it's not perfect, it's a great way to make road races a bit more interesting. Difficulty options are plentiful, and there are plenty of assists you can turn on if you want. So no matter your skill level, it's easy to tweak it so the game is manageable. It even provides incentive to play on harder settings by rewarding you with more credits. However, the tuning currently appears to be a bit off. On the default average difficulty, you'll win races by a hefty margin, but if you bump it up to above average, making a single mistake makes it tough to take the checkered flag. This despite a generous rewind system that lets you fix that mistake. It often feels like all the cars you're racing against are just faster than yours. Perhaps we just need to get better, but the game itself doesn't help much. There are barely any tutorials for anything, so we've just enjoyed the breezy drives with everything on the default settings. The obvious comp for Forza Horizon 5 on Game Pass is Forza Horizon 4. The two games are extremely similar, so you are basically choosing whether you like Mexico or the UK more. Horizon 5 is bigger, has an improved presentation, and does include some important updates like expedition races, but most will struggle to tell the difference between the two. Burnout Paradise Remastered is another great open-world racing game that's even more arcade-like, but it does feel dated in a few ways. The Need for Speed games are another open-world option, but the driving itself isn't nearly as polished, and the narrative is even more inane. Probably the closest comp is the recent Dirt 5. It also threads the needle between sim and arcade while having bleeding-edge presentation. If you are looking for a pure sim, the options are more slim. Forza Motorsport 7 recently left Game Pass due to licensing issues, which leaves the F1 games and Grid as the remaining alternatives. If off-roading is your thing, Dirt Rally and its sequel are both great options along with the intense indie take on the sport, Art of Rally. Now it's time to find out. Is Forza Horizon 5 a game pass or a game fail?
Final straight, and this kid is not stopping!
Forza Horizon 5 is an overwhelming game to cover. There's just so much to it. Even after a half dozen hours, there are still tons of modes we've barely touched, and plenty of undiscovered roads to drive. Basic races do tend to blur together after a while due to the lack of difficulty on the default setting, but everything is exceptionally polished, and overall, it's a high-quality product with addictive progression that will keep you behind the wheel. With its open world littered with events, it's so easy to become distracted, and next thing you know, 2 hours have flown by. The comps are certainly strong, but while each competitor may do one or two things a little better, Forza Horizon 5 does almost everything exceptionally well. Couple this with the massive audience on Microsoft's service that fills out the open world with drive-avatars, and it's a racer that feels like it's always alive. Forget Game Pass. It's one of the best driving games ever made. Forza Horizon 5 gets a Game Pass. Next time, we are looking at Outriders.